Shout out to the GG Mister and Bob C. Thank you for the support. Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today's build is the Bladedancer Ballista build, which is a minion build. And I'll tell you what, the first time I looked at it, I really didn't think we'd be able to go too far with it, especially looking in your passive trees. You have absolutely zero minion support. But once you get into the skill tree a bit, you notice that it has some things that synergize with your own stats, and so we thought we might be able to make it work. And the most interesting thing I saw about it was the fact that it really stacked well with Dex. It gave it more life and it gave it more attack speed, because when I first summoned it, it felt really slow. But looking at the attack speed that you can get in the tree, and the attack speed you can get from Dex, and the fact that you can stack Dex on quite a bit, and then the fact that we found some uniques that really tie into it well, all made it to where Ballista can actually be really viable. And when you have multiple of them, it becomes almost deadly, especially for the minions. We pushed this over 100 waves in the arena and then left. We destroyed all the Monolith of Fate bosses. Now, as a minion build, and because we're building into minions, you're not going to have the defenses that you normally would. We have no resistance, but we do basically have cap dodge at all times. So basically you're just going to keep running around, summoning, shifting, and then make sure that you're dodging as much as you can, because you don't want to get hit. The ballistas clear things fast enough that usually there's not too much time for you to take a hit. They don't have very good taunt, so mobs are still going to go for you first. But between shift and between using smoke bomb to kind of give you more glancing blow and to give you more dodge, you're going to have a very high chance to survive for quite a while. Alright, let's go ahead and get into the skills. For skills, we're running Dancing Strikes, Shift, Ballista, Smoke Bomb, and Shadow Cascade. For Dancing Strikes, this isn't one that you'll use very much. However, you do have a little bit of uptime or downtime where you could use it, because of the fact that all you're really doing is summoning ballistas and then shifting so that you get your mana back. In between summoning ballistas, you could easily dance a little bit, as this is a kite build where you're just going to want to constantly be moving to not get hit and let the ballistas do the work. Dancing every now and then doesn't hurt anything, and it gives you a lot more dodge, it gives you more crit multi, it gives you more damage, and it gives you haste. So definitely just using it every now and then just kind of felt like a way to synergize it into our 5 skills. So for it, we have 1 point in eluding steps, so that you gain some flat dodge rating for 1 second when you use it. 2 points in Tenacious Vital, so that you get less damage taken over time. This helps with your survivability, because you're not going to have any resistances, you're going to have very little armor. You're basically depending completely upon dodge, and your ballista is killing things at range for you to survive here. 4 points in Invigorating Moves, so that you gain 100 health if you happen to hit an enemy while you are dancing. 4 points in Quick Step, so that you have a 100% chance to gain haste just on you, so you don't have to hit an enemy for this to work. 1 point in Windmill Bout for a shuriken chance, we don't really care about that. 1 point in Cutting Corners are for some armor stretch chance, it's too little to really matter. 4 points in Rhythm, this is where you're going to get your more global damage and you'll get more dodge and crit out of this. 1 point in Elegance, so that you get 10% more dodge rating per stack of rhythm that you have, and 2 points in Art of Blades, so that you get 20% more global critical multiplier for every stack of rhythm that you have. For Shift, you will be using Shift a lot. Basically what you're using Shift for is that you want to create a shadow with it. You're going to return to the shadow's location. You don't have to take that node, but I take it because, like, in arena or anywhere, it's nice to get back to your ballistas as quick as possible, so I tend to stay around them. I'll shift out to get my mana back, and then it automatically returns me to them, so that, like, I shift out, it'll automatically use Shadow Cascade, do some damage to the enemies, and then automatically put me right back in to the safety net of being next to my ballistas. So it's really nice to be able to shift out and then automatically be teleported back, so you're not out there getting hit. So we have 3 points in Velocity, so that your next non-channeled skill will do 30% more damage. For us, that will be Shadow Cascade that's doing more damage. We have 3 points in Momentum to gain haste for 1.5 seconds after we've shifted. 1 point in Lasting Presence to create a shadow from where we shifted from. 1 point in Through the Shadows, so that after you've consumed that shadow, you'll return to its location. and 1 point in Dancing Shadows so that you use Cascade at the end of shift, in which the shadow will also use this, which automatically means that you shift, use Shadow Cascade, the shadow that you created at departure will use it, and you automatically teleport back. It's a really quick teleport out and teleport back, kind of like Volatile Reversal. 4 points in Swift Recovery so that we get basically the mana cost completely back when we use the skill. 1 point in Shadow Slip so that we're invulnerable while shifting. 5 points in Elusive so that we gain 150 dodge per point of dex, and we have like 80 dex, so it's an astronomical amount. You'll be capped on dodge every time that you shift. And 1 point in Unseen Strike so you do a little melee damage along your shifting path. For Ballista, your main damage dealer, there are a lot of ways that you can spec this tree, and as you can tell, we don't have anything really maxed out. We just kind of have 1 point everywhere that you could put it. What we were trying to do with it is get the maximum amount of attack speed that you could with it, so that it'll actually attack fast, get damage out of it, and give it some extra projectiles so that it will do for AoE clears when you have trash mobs and lots of mobs. It won't just be doing one target at a time. So we have some pierce, we have some chance for multiple projectiles, and then we also have a very high amount of crit multi and crit chance for it. We have 1 point in rapid fire for some attack speed, 3 points in flaming shots for some extra added fire damage, 1 point in bolt rain, so there's a 25% chance for 2 extra projectiles, 3 points in sturdy foundation so that they'll last longer. They have a 10-second base, we're adding 30% to that, so they'll last for 13 seconds. 1 point in quick load so that for every attack that they do, they gain 2% more attack speed. This does not have a cap, which means the more attack speed that you can give them to start with, the faster that they'll gain more attack speed. And by the end of that 13 seconds, they'll have 20 or 30 attacks and they'll be attacking really fast. 1 point in expeditious build, so the ballistas will gain a frenzy, 20% attack speed whenever you are around them, which you'll have the smoke bomb going off. You're going to want to stay in that. You'll put your ballistas inside of that, and that's where you'll stay. So you'll try and be next to them at all times. We have 1 point in shared enhancements, so they get 15% of your damage effectiveness. I really think this only applies if you're wearing a bow. I really don't know. I don't know if they just get your damage percentages, so if you have a bunch of physical damage, they also get that. Not 100% sure, didn't test it too much, but we're not wearing a bow, so I didn't even really put more points into it, and we're doing great damage without it. So, we also have 1 point in heavy bolts. This will give you 12% more multiplicative damage, but it gives you a little less attack speed. 1 point in shields up. This just puts a shield connected to the front of it that takes 300 damage and then disappears. I'm really finding it to be actually pretty useless compared to how much life they have, so feel free to take this point out and put it somewhere more useful. We have 1 point in bodkin bolts so that we can pierce 1 enemy, so each fired bolt can now do damage to 2 enemies, and if it does the extra projectiles, technically it can hit up to 6 enemies now. We have 2 points in sharpened tips for that base crit chance, 1 point in perfect aim, so that they get 25% of your critical strike multiplier and 25% of your critical strike effectiveness or chance. Now, I don't think this node works, because I found no difference between putting 1 point here and 4 points here, because our character as a Bladedancer, you can get 700-800% crit multi really easily. And so I thought, wow, if we can give that 800% crit multi to the Ballista at 100% effectiveness with 4 points, that would be huge. But I saw no damage difference, so I don't know if just 1 point gives it 100% or if, it's just broken altogether. But by putting 1 point in there, I did notice a little bit of a damage boost, so I assume it works a little bit, at least with 1 point. So definitely put at least 1 point there, but I wouldn't put all 4 because I noticed nothing between the 2, 3, and 4th points put in. And then we have 3 points in light bolts so that you get 36% more attack speed, multiplicative with other sources of attack speed. And the other nice thing about Ballista is it stacks. It gets 1% attack speed per point of dex you have, and like I said, we have about 80 dex on this build, so it has 80% more attack speed just from dex, which is a very nice stacking from a stat for it. For Smoke Bomb, we're using Smoke Bomb to make shadows, because ballistas are expensive and the only way you're going to get your mana back is by consuming shadows and getting mana with Shadow Cascade, which is really simple and it's very easy to do. Basically what you do is you just have Smoke Bomb active, it makes a shadow every second, you shift automatically makes a shadow, shift also automatically uses Shadow Cascade, so it'll consume all shadows and give you a bunch of mana back per shadow. It's that simple. So all you're doing is summoning a ballista and shifting, that's all you do. 2 buttons, super simple build. We have 5 points in Lingering Fumes for that 50% increased duration, 1 point in Concealed in Carnage, 1 point in Smoke Blaze, the most important, 4 points in Umbral Assault so that you can make a shadow every second that it's active. For your defense, 1 point in Shrouded in Darkness, 4 points in Rapid Concealment, and 1 point in Shared Concealment so that you and your allies are getting a Dark Shroud buff every half second. You'll get up to 8 of these. That means that you can get 40% glancing blow, and you can get 400 flat dodge just by staying in the smoke bomb at all times. We also have 1 point in Generosity and 1 point in Enfeeblement, with our last point in Moonlight Balm for a Silver Shroud stack. So you can get Silver Shroud stack, Dust Shroud, and Crimson Shroud all from this one skill, making it our most defensive skill for us. So definitely a great utility, and it's going to be the source of making shadows so that we can get our mana back. And then for Shadow Cascade, you're never manually going to use this, and you can set it up however you want. The one thing you have to make sure you get is the 3 points in Fight in the Shadows. That 12 mana back, or 12 mana gained per shadow consumed, is the only way that you're going to keep up with the mana of summoning Ballistas at all times and constantly having 3 of them up. We also have 1 point in Gloomstalker, 1 point in Carnage, 1 point in Precision, 4 points in Rapid Expanse, 4 points in Shadow Torrent, 1 point in Battle Trance, 1 point in Crushing Darkness, 1 point in Flow State, and 3 points in Dagger Dance. For passives, we have 33 points in the Rogue base class. We have 8 points in Swift Assassin, 8 points in Steady Hand, 1 point in Ghoul, 2 points in Evasion, 1 point in Twin Blade, 8 points in Critical Precision, and 5 points in Dodge and Parry. We have 8 points in the Marksman just for that dex, with 8 points in Focus Fire. And we have 53 points in the Blade Master, 8 points in Cloak of Shadows, 8 points in Pursuit, 1 point in Sky Synthesis, 8 points in Once, 6 points in Asuvan's Pact, 1 point in Blood Dance, 1 point in Flash of Steel, 10 points in Weapons of Choice, 5 points in Critical Eye, and 5 points in All End. What we were trying to do was get as much critical strike chance and critical strike multiplier as possible so that we could give that to the Ballista via the node that gives it the effectiveness of those two. However, since that doesn't seem to be working properly, I would almost recommend maybe just wearing a bow and giving it the damage effectiveness is better. I didn't test it too much on that because the setup here just works really well and it was doing great, but we will definitely dive more into it later. For items and idols, the idols that you want are the ones that give added flat bow physical damage to the Ballista. You want 4 of those. If you don't have those, a great backup would be just minion physical damage. However, these are going to be the best thing that you can find. They drop pretty often. Actually, most of the rogue idols seem to drop pretty often, so they're fairly easy to find. We've stacked up a bunch of them in just a few days. For uniques, we are wearing 3 uniques. The first unique that we're wearing is the Jungle Queen's Chaps of Holding, which gives us more potion slots, increased physical damage, increased minion physical damage. It gives you added dex, which is something you can't normally get on a belt, and it gives you % increased dodge rating for 4 seconds when you use a potion, which isn't as good as the flat dodge that you can normally get. However, it is a boost. Now, what's nice about this is our build is completely dependent upon dodging. That's all that we care about is dodging. We don't have resistance, we don't have armor, like you're literally just depending upon dodge, so this build is really awesome for that. And since you're also kind of running away, it's awesome that we can also hold on to a bunch of potions because you're going to be spamming those like crazy as well, especially in the higher waves in the arena. Another unique we have is Mervin's Rilt, which gives a crossbow mercenary. You can see him to the left shooting for his well, he's just kind of there. And this also gives bow minion damage, it gives minion bow critical strike base chance, it gives increased chance to find potions, and it gives dex. It's basically everything that you're looking for here. And what's nice about it is this means that your Ballista is getting even more base crit, and it's going to get almost 100% increased damage. So it's by far the best relic that you can put on. And then the last thing for uniques is the Death Rattle. This can give up to 200% minion critical strike multiplier. That is huge for the Ballista, especially since we're trying and can get to 100% crit with it. This is going to make its damage spike a crap ton. It does make them take more damage, but that's fine. You're resummoning them all the time because they don't last very long anyways, and every time that they do get desummoned or die, you get 20 health gained. So this is a very nice unique to wear. For our crafted items, now we are wearing a sword and a dagger and the reason for that is for the weapons of choice 150% crit multiplier. However, since that node works, but since Ballista doesn't seem to benefit that from its node, you could probably get away with just wearing a bow and it'd be fine. However, this is the setup we have, so I'm just leaving it here. This is what all the footage will be based on. On our sword, we have minion physical damage, increased critical strike chance, increased minion damage and health on melee hit. For the dagger, we have all the same stats. Minion physical damage, critical strike multiplier, minion damage, and health on melee hit. For our chest, we have added dex, increased dodge rating. We have +1 maximum ballista, which also gives increased ballista attack speed. Tier 1 is all you need. You can't get any more than +1 maximum ballista. All you need is tier 1 on that. And then the other fix we have is % increased critical strike chance per equipped sword. Again, you don't really need it. Your critical strike chance isn't too important, but it is nice to have, especially when you do shift and it uses Shadow Cascade. Getting a crit with that every time makes it hit really, really hard. And then for our helm, we have Dex Vite, ward gained on shift use, which is pretty nice. You can also, instead of that, you can just get health if you want more health. We're running pretty low health on this build. More health would definitely have been appreciated. And then we have added flat dodge. For our rings, we're wearing the turquoise rings so that the minion damage and minion health are there. We also have added minion physical damage, not added, % increase. We have dex, we have minion damage and dodge rating. We have the exact same stats on the other ring as well. And then for our boots, we have dex, dodge rating, both % increase and flat, and then we have increased movement speed. Movement speed is going to be king for you because what's nice about this is you can basically always have haste or multiple sources of haste, which is going to allow you to move really, really fast, and you're going to need that because you're constantly just dodging projectiles everywhere. And then for our gloves, we have the soul embracers, which have dex, increased minion physical damage, increased minion damage, and dodge rating. For our character sheet, just standing in place, we have 1 point shy of 2000 dodge for 68% dodge. This is only a level 82 character, so if you're level 100, that's going to drop down a little bit. But just standing normally, you have a 68% dodge, and that's what your survivability is going to be based on. You can see we have no resistance, we have very little armor, no block chance, no block effectiveness, we have no critical strike avoidance. We do have some glancing blow, and like I said, once we put up our smoke bomb here, we can get all the way up to 71%. So you do have a chance to get some damage reduction. Your dodge, just being in the smoke cloud, is going to jump up to 70%. And then, like I said, when you shift, it's going to go even higher. Every time you shift for 1 second, you'll be capped out. You can see we have 30,000 dodge when we shift. So I mean, you're going to be capped on dodge for that 1 second. So just shift as often as you can. And then we're running 86 dex, which is about the most you can get. We have dex from everywhere you can get in the passive tree. We have it on all the items that you can get it on. It's basically maxed. Alright, for the playstyle and how to use the skills. So what I like to do, and this guy, boy, man, his damage sucks, especially for having minion damage increases. Look at him. Alright, so what we got here is I'll put smoke bomb on auto cast, and then all I do is I don't ever use Shadow Cascade. I occasionally will use Dancing Strikes, but all I'm doing is summoning Ballista and shifting. So I'll summon my Ballistas up, and then I'll shift, and when I shifted, it automatically did the Shadow Cascade. It automatically consumed shadows, brought my mana all the way back up, and I can just shift around and get all my mana every time. And then you just have your Ballistas, they'll auto attack, but here I have to make them attack. But as you can tell, their damage is good. We're critting from 10 to 20k on the training dummy, and there's 3 of them, so it's definitely not bad. Let's get all 3 of them, and you can see exactly what we got going here, and boom. I mean, you can see their firing rate's pretty quick. It picks up, it gets a little bit faster as they sit there and fire more, and they just annihilate things, as you'll see in the gameplay. And speaking of gameplay, let's get into it.